911. What are you? That's me! That's me! That's me!
Whoa, 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 everybody. You know what time it is. You know what time it is. You know what time it is. It's real vile time there, babies. And it's going to be a wild one. It's going to be a good one. It's going to be super spooky and super wacky. You know it because, hey, it's the G to the E to the R to the M. The T stands for the, but you already knew that, and we're about to rip it up in a modern way, so it's got to be Mr. Germ T. Ripper. Over here, we got the Prime Minister, the Sinister, Mr. Ruthless Chris. Ruthless Chris, tell people what's really going on.
What's going on, guys? Good to be back. Been a while.
That's what I'm talking about. Been a while, we're back, and we're badder than ever, baby. And of course, we got that Tower of the Hour, the Princess of Power, Killer Kelli Miller. Tell the people what's up in real Vile land. What's up, Killer Kelli Miller?
What's up, guys? Good to be back indeed. It's been too damn long. Too damn long.
3 damn long, if you ask me.
Mm-hmm.
Well, tonight we're gonna be talking about a new cult movie. It's wacky, it's wild, and it's wonderful. It's kind of whimsical, and it is Destroy All Neighbors. Ooh la la, c'est la vie. It's gonna be a good time for you and a good time for me. But before we get to that, we've been out of rotation for a few weeks. Let's talk about what we've been up to. Ruthless Chris, what have you been up to?
Bunch of stuff, man. We went and saw the new Godzilla in IMAX in black and white.
Mm-hmm.
I get the hype now.
Good.
Everyone was talking about how fucking awesome it was, and I was like, it can't be that good. It was.
Yep.
It was that good. I loved every minute of it. It was really awesome. I can't wait to see it again. I don't know if I want to see it in color now, though, because
no, man, no. Like, had I seen it last year, I'm just gonna cut in real quick. But had I seen last year, it might have been my number one movie. And black and white is the absolute way to see it. It was just, dude, it was incredible. It was just fucking incredible. But go on, Chris. What else you been up to?
the new Godzilla was great. They actually made Godzilla scary in it. Like they don't make him a sympathetic monster. Like it's a very oh shit moment anytime he pops up. So I like that. We're gonna go to Puxatawny for Groundhog's Day. We've been planning that out. Gonna get weird out in Puxatawny just for the hell of it. Gonna go see Phil predict some weather. What else? Getting stuff ready for Chicago. Got some stuff we're moving around for that. Some hiccups that hit, but definitely rolling with them there punches. And everything's been pretty fucking good on my end.
Very, very cool. Anything else you'd like to add to that, Kelli Miller?
I haven't had too much else going on out of the ordinary. Godzilla again was fucking amazing. I did not expect that. Like Chris said, I thought I was just going in like, all right, Godzilla, whatever. How good could it be? I did hear some good reviews, but holy fuck, dude, blew my mind. Absolutely blew my mind. Other than that, yeah, excited for Puxatawny. I fell into a weird Groundhog's Day hole last year. I had some questions, and then the further I looked it up, the more questions I got. And I was just like, I started showing Chris, and he was making fun of me at first, and I was like, no, dude. Then he's just like, okay, how far is this? So we've been planning this for like.
Well, when we did Jersey a couple times last year with Ruthless, and we'd have to drive through Puxatawny every year, and I was like, this isn't that far, and like, I'm always down for a weird adventure.
Yeah, same.
So like, it's like a 4-hour drive. Fuck it, let's go see what's going on with Phil and Puxatawny.
Like one of the weirdest American traditions. Let's fucking do it.
It is weird. Yeah. Got a groundhog reading scrolls telling the weather.
So that's in like 2 days. But yeah, other than that, weird changes at work that I'm dealing with, and yep, that's about it. Watching some movies. Watched a lot of movies actually. What have you been up? What have you been up to, Germ?
Well, thank you for asking, Killer Kelli. I've just been out here, saving lives, getting people to get sober and stay sober. My favorite thing to do in life. I'd gone to a show by my home promotion, POW Entertainment, at the beginning of January. And while there, they're like, hey, Mr. Riccolo, who is their regular ring announcer, can't do the next show. Do you want to do it? And I jumped at the chance, and I got to ring announce again this like last week, and it was a lot of fun. I really enjoy myself doing that. And it was nice bringing the people that sort of flamboyant professionalism that I'm not going to toot my own horn. I'm not going to say only I can do it, because there are others that do it as well, if not better, and have been doing it much longer. But the best I can do in Chicagoland. We'll keep it at that. But
we are quite familiar with your flamboyant funness.
Yes.
We are fond of it here at Real Vile.
It's like this, but cranked up to 15, maybe, we'll say. But anyway, choo choo, let's get this terror train on the tracks, and let's talk about what we've been watching. We'll start off with Killer Kelli Miller. What you been watching, baby?
Oh, what's the first one I'll talk about? Yeah, I'll talk about the most recent one I watched. This one was all right. I don't know. I read some reviews. It made it seem, I suppose, better than I thought it was. This is 2023's The Portrait. I think I rented it off of Amazon. It was pretty cheap, but I don't think I wouldn't suggest renting it. I would wait till it comes to a streaming service. This lady, it's clear that her husband was in an accident, and she's trying to take him to an old house that his family owned that he grew up in to try to refresh his memory. You know, like, despite what the doctor said, she thinks all he needs is like one memory to remember like who he is and what's going on in his life. It's weird because this movie it shows the house when it first starts, but it shows there's some obvious like violent act of some guy like dragging some girl into the house from like the turn of the century, completely different era. So obviously they're setting up there's a history in this house. While at the house, some weird shit's starting to go on. His relatives start showing up, and they're kind of like real creepy, real clingy to him. And she finds this painting up in the attic that looked exactly like him. And they tell him kind of the story, like, "Oh yeah, we don't talk about that guy in the painting." And then the lady kind of like, she gets obsessed with this painting and like kind of imagining that it is her husband, and her husband's. It's weird. It's real weird. It builds up pretty good for about the first like hour. You don't know. They do a good job of you don't know whether the shit she's seeing is in her head or if it's actually this weird ass house, or what the fuck does this weird ass family, you know? Like, it's weird that they're married and she's just now meeting these relatives where he doesn't remember shit. I don't know. It's the build up is great, and you think it's going somewhere. It kind of had a feel of like Devil's Candy or something, which I did also watch, but it wasn't half as good. The end, I feel like they dropped the ball on this one. I'm not going to tell you what it is. It's twisty and turny, but I feel like it ruined the whole movie. I'd probably still give it like a 3. I think that's being generous. I'd say 2.5, 3.
So, what was the name of this one again?
The Portrait, 2023.
The Portrait, out in 2023,
Mm-hmm.
2.5 or 3 stars.
Yeah.
What's it streaming on?
I believe I rented it for like a couple bucks off of Amazon Prime after reading a couple reviews that it sounded better than I think it was. I mean, but by all means, check it out. I would just wait till it's streaming for free.
Fair enough. The Portrait. Check it out if you like what Kelly's been talking about. If not, you move right along and check out something else. Chris, have you seen The Portrait?
I've never even heard of this.
Yeah, I just recently heard of it myself.
Well, all right. I have not heard of it either, but hey, who knows? Maybe when it's streaming for free, I'll check it out. Chris, what have you got to talk to us about, baby?
So I watched a newer movie. It had a really good trailer, and it looked like it was going to be pretty entertaining, but I was kind of let down by it. It's called All Fun and Games, 2023, directed by Aaron Caballero. God, I know I butchered that. And Ari Costa. This thing ended up being pretty run of the mill. Like it's shot really well. There's great performances in it, but everything about it is just like you've seen it 1,000 times before. But what you got is like you got some like delinquent kids. They find a old ancient cursed knife There's some writing on the knife. If you read it out loud, it allows this demon to kind of possess you. There's a great cold opening in this thing that really like gave me my hopes for this movie. But then it kind of really just turned into, kids playing a party game, one of them getting possessed, demon kind of jumping between bodies and doing fucked up stuff. It adheres to like board game rules, which I thought ended up being kind of corny. They kept making them chant, I will not quit, I will not give up. So they couldn't leave the game. All in all, this was very forgettable. And like I said, there's like nothing wrong with it. Like it's directed well, it's acted well. There's nothing wrong with the special effects, but it just feels like you've watched it 1,000 times, but better. So I'm sure these people have a better movie up their sleeve. It's their first feature length. And again, like it's not like I think the problem itself is just the script. Because everyone else was really putting their effort into it, and it was acted and shot well. But yeah, I did not enjoy this at all, and that was all fun and games. I believe I watched it on Tubi. I gave it 2 stars.
2 stars. Okay. Have you seen All Fun and Games, Kelly?
I think I have. I think I might have even talked about it on this. And like Chris said, it is forgettable. It wasn't until he started talking about like the chant they said and how they couldn't get out of the house. It was like an older house. I'm pretty sure.
No, they get out of the house. You might be thinking something because like half of it takes place in a house, and then in the middle of it, they go to another party, and then they return to the house.
Maybe not. Maybe I am getting it confused with another. But yeah, there's a lot of movies like this in this genre that, kids playing the party game, and yeah. Better ones might be like Talk to Me, but
just go watch Talk to Me.
Yeah, that's
Talk to Me. This is like a drip of how cool Talk to Me is, and it's pretty much nearly the same premise, just not anywhere near as good.
Yeah, I recently watched this movie as well, and like you said, it's so forgettable that when you started talking about it, I had to look it up to see what the premise was, because I'm like, oh, I remember watching that, and it was just like a week or two ago. It wasn't long ago I watched this, but I do remember it gave me a little bit of Evil Dead, because there's a tape that they play, and it tells them to either get out of the house, or something to that effect. And I was like, okay, so they're playing a tape. There is a knife, and in Evil Dead there's a dagger. I was just like, okay, so it's a little bit of Evil Dead, and then a little bit of like sort of Amityville, but then it's got a lot of campiness to it, because when they added those board game rules, like, oh, if the flashlight touches you, it burns your skin. I was like, what?
Yeah.
No. They're playing Hangman.
Red Rover.
Yeah, Red Rover.
No, see, maybe I didn't see this then. I don't know. I don't remember that.
It was campy, and it would be a great movie, like a starter horror movie, if you had like a teen or preteen that hadn't been into horror for a long time and hasn't seen all these movies. It would be a great like starter horror movie. I know that when I watched it, I was generous and I gave it a 3, but upon thinking about it more, I gave it 2.5, because it is very forgettable. I couldn't even remember what it was about without you telling me what it was about. So yes, 2.5 for All Fun and Games. And on that note, I'm going to keep the train chugging along, choo choo, and talk about the first film that I'm going to talk about. It's actually the last movie I watched, and it is one that everybody's seen except for me, evidently, from what people have been commenting on in social media. But it is 1997's sci-fi mystery horror, like bizarro world that I'm sure was completely new to genre film at the time, but it is the film Cube.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure everybody's seen this, but it's about 6 complete strangers with widely varying personalities that are involuntarily placed in this endless maze containing deadly traps. It was funny when I put this on, because I was like, oh, this looks familiar, but I know that I haven't watched it all the way through. And that first kill is amazing, because you're not really expecting it. You don't see it coming. And then I remembered why I had shut it off before, because the overacting is there. It's really, for me at least, the overacting sort of just killed this really original story and these really gory traps. And it was just like, it was like grating to me. And by the end of it, I was like, "Oh, this is." It was still watchable, and it was still really good. And I'm sure in 1997, this was brilliant. It was, because it's a really original idea, especially for the time. But for me personally, it was just like, okay, it's smart and well done, but I just couldn't like get on with everybody that was like, this is the greatest movie ever. I still gave it 3.5 stars. And I think that if I had seen it in 1997 when I was like 18 years old, I probably would have that idea that this is the greatest movie ever. But, 3.5 is still pretty good. I'm sure you guys have seen Cube. What are your thoughts on it?
I love the
Yeah,
Cube movies. Oh, go ahead, Chris.
I've seen all the Cube movies. I haven't seen. They just made a Japanese remake. I have not gotten around to say that, but I hear it's not great. I really did love Cube when it came out. It came out in '97, and this thing had like half the budget of a sci-fi original channel movie. And I think that is where the acting comes into play, because visually they came up with a good concept. They only had to build one set, and it was one cube. And if you notice, all the cubes were different colors, so they just backlit it different colors. So they came up with a great way, a cost-effective way to make a grand movie idea. But yeah, the acting was a little hammy. I haven't seen it probably in like 10 years or so, but I enjoyed it because it felt like a really well done episode of like The Twilight Zone or something, where like there's just like this cool kind of out of this world like mystery to unfold. I remember the second one not liking so much, Hypercube, and then the prequel I remember being very good, which leads into the one you watched. But yeah, I really enjoy Cube. It holds a special spot in my heart. I give it 4 all day.
Yeah, I gotta agree with Chris on that one. Like the Cube movies definitely hold a special spot in my heart. I like the sequels. Some of them are kind of cheesy. I don't remember which one was cheesier than the others. I think you're right with 3 being better than 2. It's been a while since I watched them, but I reference the Cube movies a lot when I see other movies that like with a similar like sci-fi premise, or like you can see a lot of influence, and I can't think of one off the top of my head, but I remember recently being like, there was a Cube, aspect to it. But yeah, I don't know. I love the Cube movies. I agree with the 4 rating as well.
Very cool. But if you haven't seen Cube, or if you'd like to rewatch it, it's streaming on all the free platforms: Freevee, Plex, Pluto. And if you have Amazon Prime and you don't want to watch commercials, it is on Prime Video. I believe that's where I watched it. But anyway, yeah, 3.5 from me, 4 from everybody else. So check out Cube if you haven't in the past, or rewatch it if you love it. And on that note, let's keep this train chugging along so we can get to Destroy All Neighbors with Chris. Oh no, Kelly. Yeah,
Me.
I want to go with Kelly. Let's go with Kelly.
Yeah.
Kelly, what you got for us, baby?
I think this one was another 2023 movie. I don't know why I didn't write down. Yeah. Excuse me. This movie is Raging Grace. Another one that I heard some decent reviews on that I was just... I think this one was... This is another forgettable one for me. It's another story that I feel like I've seen a million times. Joy, she's an undocumented immigrant. I believe it's in England in this one. She's from the Philippines. And, she's just trying to get work wherever she can go. She's trying to save her money to get citizenship for her and her daughter, Grace. Grace is kind of a bad child. Like, she's like a prankster. Everywhere they go, like, she gets them kicked out by pulling, like, pranks on people. She's kind of a bad little girl. But anyway, Joy gets offered, she has to go check on this old man, Mr. Martin. I think that's wrong, but it doesn't matter. She has to go check on this old man, and his niece Catherine is there, looking after him. So she meets Catherine, and Catherine quickly offers her a job and a place to stay in this big, beautiful, like mansion, like countryside house. And she doesn't know that Joy has Grace with her. They're a little girl. So she sneaks her into the room and she has to like hide her, away from the. There's some weird shit going on. I don't want to get too far into it, but you start thinking like, is this Catherine, the niece, starts like sleepwalking, and you're like, is this place haunted? Is there another one that's kind of similar to the first one that I watched, like weird family shit going on, or is this some weird ghost shit? Is the little girl fucking pulling some fucking pranks and like, But this was real twisty and turny, more so than the first one that I watched. Like it takes you to different places, and you're like, it leads you what you think is happening is not what's happening, and it's that kind of movie. I still think it was just kind of forgettable. I gave it a 3. I think it's better than the first one that I watched, but it was still a premise that was done well. Like the visuals were well, but it was just like the one that Chris just watched. It's just forgettable. I'll probably forget about it in a week or two.
And you said it's called Saving Grace?
Raging Grace.
Raging Grace, not saving, just raging.
Yes.
She's raging.
Yeah.
So 3 stars is pretty good. Where would you say this is streaming on?
Amazon, I believe, Prime.
Amazon Prime. Chris, have you seen Raging Grace?
Nah, I've never heard of this one either.
I heard him talk about it on, I think it was Colors of the Dark. I heard it mentioned on there, and I was like, oh, all right, I'll check that out.
Fair enough. Worth checking out. It sounds like with a 3-star rating from Killer Kelli. But I haven't seen it. Chris hasn't seen it. We can't really comment on this, but Raging Grace on Amazon Prime. Check it out. 3 stars from Killer Kelli. But Ruthless Chris, what you got for us, baby?
This next one toes the line on being a horror movie. I'm still going to talk about it anyway because it definitely has a lot of horror elements to it. This is a Massacre at Central High from 1976 by Renee D'Alder. I watched this on Tubi. I was pretty blown away by this. I was actually kind of shocked. I was expecting kind of just a sleaze fest, which it delivered on that, but it actually had like a lot of commentary going for it and like a bigger picture message. What you have is a school. It's kind of being controlled by a group of bullies. We've seen this 1,000 times. New kid comes in. The bullies try to bring him into the fold, and he decides he doesn't like the bullies. And I'm not spoiling this by saying anything, but because they pretty much just show him doing it right off the grid. He starts just murdering these guys and making it look like accidents. So, like they're into hand gliding. So like he snips a wire on one of their hand gliders and they fall and shit like that. For the first half, it's like a slasher revenge kind of thing. But then they go into like all this commentary on like what happens to people when they aren't checked like that. And like how like those people started falling into these subsects and bullying each other themselves and all this like wild shit. And then the kid like who was doing it to begin with starts questioning why he was even trying to help all these people because they had just turned out terrible after he helped it. It had a lot more going on to it than I really expected. With that being said, I don't think a movie like this could be made now with all the school violence. It is a grindhouse movie, but it's just one with a lot more substance than you'd normally expect for something like this. I really enjoyed it, and it actually was one of those ones that like, when you see a movie and it kind of sticks with you for a few days, and you kind of just ponder over it. And like this scene and that scene and kind of thinking back, like it's got some really strong stuff going on in it. And it was one of those ones where I needed a palate cleanser. I watched a comedy after I got off it, just because I needed kind of give my brain a bit of a soak after I ingested all that sleaze with meta commentary kind of thing. So yeah, I would recommend it. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. I think it's actually kind of an important movie, even though it would be considered a really sleazy, fucked up movie by today's standards. So yeah, that was Massacre at Central High. I watched it on Tubi.
Have you seen Massacre at Central High there, Kelli?
Don't think I have. Have you?
I watched it when Synapse Films put out their collector's edition Blu-ray, and I didn't really know anything about it. Synapse is one of those labels that when I see them at a convention, I just buy their physical media without really questioning it, and yeah, I was similar to Chris. I was pretty impressed by especially for the time that it came out, the commentary in it. It was pretty smart, pretty well done, especially for once again for the time that it was made at. I gave it 3.5 stars, and it's definitely worth a watch.
You know what? I think now that I'm thinking about it, Heather's might be a parody of this.
Heather?
If you really think about it, like if you're thinking about it, like kind of scene for scene and everything, Heather's might be parodying this, especially with the ending.
I'd have to rewatch both, like sort of side by side to really see that comparison. But different subsects and thinking about it now, just like you said, thinking about it, I could definitely see how they're connected.
I'll have to check that out. I really love the Heathers.
It does not have the sense of humor as that.
I'm sure. Yeah.
Yeah,
But it doesn't sound like it.
There's a much like a common thread weaved in between the two that's kind of strong now that I'm really thinking about it.
Fair enough. Actually, yeah, might have to go back and watch both films, but neither would be like a chore to do. So that's definitely something to look into. But I'm going to keep the terror train, chugging along the tracks, choo choo. And myself, I'm going to talk about. I believe it's Swedish, maybe Norwegian film that I watched recently. The original title is Sick Pike, but the title in America is called Sick of Myself. Now, it's a labeled horror, so I have no problem talking about it here, but it's much more of a drama or a dry comedy. It is about increasingly overshadowed by her boyfriend's recent rise to fame as a contemporary artist, creating sculptures from stolen furniture. Signe hatches a vicious plan to reclaim her rightfully deserved attention within the milieu of Oslo's cultural elite. Now, this is the type of film that you're only going to appreciate if you like seeing overprivileged, sort of upper class, snotty people get their comeuppance. If you like things like Triangle of Sadness and you thought Triangle of Sadness was funny, you'd enjoy a film like Sick of Myself, which I enjoyed. Triangle of Sadness. I enjoy films seeing like rich, overprivileged people with first world problems kind of go through these motions. This movie is very topical in that it's kind of a body horror movie. This girl that's obsessed with fame and obsessed with social media, she reaches out to a drug dealer friend of hers and has these pills imported from Russia, which she knew that if she overdosed on them would create a flesh-eating virus in her body, and she deliberately gets this flesh-eating virus just to get likes and attention in the media and social media, and it's bloody and gross, and she's just doing it for the likes and the retweets, and it's really smart and really topical. And I enjoyed it thoroughly. I gave it 4.5 stars. It's streaming on Paramount Plus and Showtime anytime. But if you want to just stream it on Prime, it's also there for rent for $5.99. I bought a physical copy a while back from Vinegar Syndrome, which I think is also a subsidiary of Utopia Films that put this out. And in my opinion, it's definitely worth a watch if you like dry humor, body horror, and like weird drama. But have either of you guys heard of this movie, Sick of Myself?
I feel like I've not seen it, but I feel like I've heard of it. But this definitely sounds up my alley. I'm definitely very interested in watching this now. And yeah, I might watch it when we're done recording. What you said about it being kind of like a body horror, or like a girl like picking at her, or like making herself more sick for social media likes. I watched a movie last night that was a Japanese movie. I think it was called like The Woman in the Photographs or something. I wasn't going to talk about it tonight, possibly next week, because I wanted to rewatch the ending. But it's very similar premise in some ways. But yeah, I'm going to check that out.
Very cool. Chris, have you heard of this one?
I have it on my watch list. Movies like this are kind of way up my alley. They have like a visual quirk and just kind of like an offbeat sense to it. I just haven't gotten around to it. But no, I plan on watching it.
Gotcha. Okay, well, we got one more go around before we talk about Destroy All Neighbors. Killer Kelly, what's the last movie you want to talk about before I Destroy All Neighbors?
Oh, the last movie I watched was a fun one. You guys have probably seen this one. I'm pretty sure you have. But this one is Rabid from 2019. This one is written and directed by Jen and Sylvia Saska. They did American Mary and See No Evil 2. I believe they also acted in American Mary as the twins. But yeah, this one's awesome. Rose is a fashion designer. She's trying to make it in big city and stuff. She's not really getting along with the other people in the fashion industry and the industry she's working in. Brad and her coworker Chelsea, they invite her to an after party after this big fashion show. She doesn't want to go, but Brad's kind of hot, and Chelsea's like, it's a good way for networking. Let's just go meet people. So she gets her going there, and some shit goes down between her and Brad, and then her and Chelsea, and she runs out of there all pissed off and gets into a terrible accident. Well, weeks later, she wakes up in the hospital and her face is fucked, She's like real fucked. Like the gore in this movie is fucking great. So, she can't work in the industry she wants to be in anymore. She moves in with Chelsea and starts seeing this like super experimental fucking doctor that's his experiment is transhumanism. He uses like stem cells to regenerate, and like it's it hasn't been tested yet. It's very like research, in research. He's basically using her as a fucking guinea pig. Well, she heals up nicely and some other shit goes down, which kind of starts like, it kind of turns into like a zombie movie, but it's not really a zombie movie. It's like a mutated form of rabies, basically. And without giving you too much, about it, this movie's fun as fuck. It's gory as shit. It's like action packed from the beginning to end. I gave it a 4, 3.5, 4. Very sci-fi in a lot of ways. Like it's kind of like borderline sci-fi. I've kind of been over zombie movies for a while, which I did not consider this a zombie movie, but there's definitely some scenes that scream, zombie movie for sure. But yeah, I liked this one a lot. I know I watched it back in the day, but I couldn't remember it at all, so I just wanted to give it a rewatch.
Very, very cool. You said 3.5, 4 stars, and where's this streaming?
Oh shit! I think it's streaming a lot of places. Like I want to say Tubi. I want to say Prime. Let me double check that. But yeah, have you guys seen it? Well, I double check.
Yeah, I watched this one as soon as it hit the streaming services because I was already a fan of the original David Cronenberg film Rabid that it's based off of. But I think that the Soska sisters really had an original take on it because David Cronenberg, legendary director, made a lot of amazing films, but especially at that time, it's from the male gaze and it's, kind of objectifies a lot of women in the original Rabid. So to have the Soska sisters take his idea of like a sexually transmitted disease that turns people into these flesh-hungry monsters and then turn it into more of a feminist film like they do in all their films, have a feminist take on things and make it super gory. They never skimp on the gore or the violence. I really appreciated that. Yeah. I gave it 3 stars, and I think that's about the same score I gave the original one by David Cronenberg as well. So I don't like either one more or less than the other, but I think that there's a really cool and original take on the idea.
Yeah, this one's streaming on Freevee, Pluto, Peacock, probably Tubi. Usually, if it's on Freevee, it's on Tubi too. Chris, have you seen?
How about you, Chris? What you gotta say about Rabid?
I haven't seen it yet. I've only seen the Cronenberg one.
Fair enough. But yeah, check it out. It's streaming everywhere, so you have no excuses to not check it out. But let's keep the train chugging, the terror train chugging. Ruthless Chris, what you got for us, baby?
The last one we talk about, this one was a fucking gnarly one. It's directed by the guy who was the zombie in the beginning of the Night of the Living Dead. He made this and one other movie called Flesh Eaters. This one's called The Majorettes, which sounds like a movie for high schoolers. It is not. This one's kind of all over the place. It starts out as kind of like a Halloween ripoff slasher, where a guy in all camo with a buck knife is falling around and murdering people that are on the Majorette squad. It does this really weird thing why he's like on screen and killing people. Like the killer isn't making the noise, but it has this like overdubbed the whole time he's on the screen, which is really fucking weird. Like it was a strange choice. But then there's like a flip halfway into it, and it stops being a slasher movie and it turns into like a weird shoot 'em up. This thing is really sleazy, really gory. Like if there's a woman that's cast in this film, you're gonna see her boobs. The gore is gonna be like really over the top. People don't get shot once; they get shot like 17 times. There's a lot of red herrings, but like there's this movie has like 6 subplots. And at certain points, the subplots of these like little tiny subplots suddenly become like the main focus of the movie for a little bit, and then they abandon it and go back to it's really all over the place, but still somehow comes together. And the ending shot in this movie really made my fucking skin crawl. I did not like it one fucking bit. It was really dark, like really, 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 really dark. Like this one, it's probably the sleaziest movie I've watched since we did New York Ripper. It's just it's just like really fucked up and sleazy, but it's also I would recommend it. It was good. It's not what you thought it was. At no point. If anyone's seen the Majorettes and said it was predictable, you punch them in the mouth because they're lying to your face with their words, because this thing was just what the fuck the whole time. But with that being said, I would recommend it. I kind of wish this dude made more movies, because the only other thing he made was a zombie movie called The Flesh Eaters. So yeah, 1986. Watched it on Tubi. The Majorettes. Would recommend. I give it 3.5, but it comes with the caveat: you're going into something real gross and sleazy.
Fair enough. Killer Kelly, have you seen? Have you seen The Majorettes?
Don't believe I have. Nope. You?
No, I haven't. When you said that he had only directed this and Flesh Eaters, I'm maybe thinking of the wrong person. Is it John Russo?
No, S. William Heinzman.
Oh, okay. I'm thinking of a different zombie. I'm thinking of a different zombie from the original Night of the Living Dead, because he has also directed a lot of sleazy, really bad. Not saying that Majorettes is bad, because I haven't seen Majorettes, but John Russo has directed some really bad movies. But hey, it's all fun and games, and how many stars did you give it? 3, 4?
I gave it 3.5, but it does come with the caveat of buckle the fuck up.
Fair enough. Well, I do love sleazy films, which I'm assuming that most of our listeners do enjoy sleazy films. So, hey, why not watch The Majorettes? And I've got one more movie to talk about before we talk about Destroy All Neighbors and Ooh La La C'est La Vie. This is another one that when I posted that I was watching it for the first time, everybody on social media kind of went bonkers, like, I can't believe you've never watched this. And it is the 1994 Italian sort of zombie off the wall bonkers movie that I've now that I've watched it once, I'm in love with it. It is Cemetery Man. Wowie, kazowie, blowie. This movie
Wow.
is just so bonkers and so off the tracks. There's flying heads, which we haven't seen really since I think it's Zombie 4. Well, and but a flying talking head and
We
people
saw it in
dying
the
and coming
Life
back
movie.
to life. There's no real reason behind it. It's funny. It is gory. The ending is like what, which I think maybe influenced the ending of the movie Krampus. Maybe, I'm not sure. And it's one of those type of movies that when you're done watching it, you're kind of like, what did I just watch? I don't care what it is I just watched because it was amazing. I loved every minute of it. And it's kind of sad to see that it's according to IMDb, at least it's not streaming anywhere. I could be wrong, maybe it is, but according to IMDb it isn't. I'm glad that I picked up a physical copy from Severin, and Severin is putting all those good movies. Give those people your money, because Cemetery Man is definitely worth watching and definitely worth owning if you don't already own it on some sort of physical media. I can't go on enough about how great Cemetery Man is. You guys, I'm sure you've both seen Cemetery Man. Talk about what you think about Cemetery Man there, Ruthless Chris.
I'll tell you what, this is a childhood classic of mine. Ironically enough, it has some kinship with tonight's movies. You said you haven't seen Flying Heads in a while. You assault and destroy all neighbors. That's for sure. But yeah, this is a 100% classic. The ending was a parody of Citizen Kane. If you think about that they were kind of taking a jab at that. This one's it's real stylish and cool and bloody, and like there's some really cool shots, like when the Reaper shows up, like the way that they pulled that off. This is just an all around like classic fucking movie. Like I can't give it enough praise. I kind of wish I knew you hadn't seen it. I would have suggested we do a whole episode about it, but
Yeah.
Cemetery Man's the shit, or Delamorte Delamort. Definitely check it out. That's a 5-star all day. That's a near perfect movie.
Killer
Yeah.
Kelly, you have seen Cemetery Man?
I have. It's been so long. Like, you just kind of like refreshed my memory. I'm like, that's a movie I haven't fucking thought of in a long fucking time. And I wish it was streaming again, because I was just looking like shit, dude. I haven't even man. But yeah, Cemetery Man. I agree with Chris. I don't know if I'd give it a 4. I'd definitely give it a 4.
Yeah, I wound up giving it 4.5 stars, and it's funny because I actually got up and left the house during a freezing cold night and I didn't go to the Giallo January night at Music Box to see the movie. I went specifically so that I could buy Cemetery Man, a movie I had never seen, but people have always told me that I had to see it. So when I knew that I had to see it, Severin had a pop-up shop there for Giallo January, and I purchased it, and it sat on my shelf for a couple days, but man, oh man, oh man, oh man, I'm glad I popped that sucker in. I'm glad I watched it, because I will watch it several more times. I feel like it's very similar to, or at least stylistically, in a sense, to Peter Jackson's Dead Alive. Just how bonkers it is.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very like the 90s, the mid 90s, mid to late 90s sort of had this specific vibe to it, and it carries that very well. But we all love Cemetery Man, so if you can get your hands on a copy of that, spend the money, buy a copy from Severin Films, and enjoy Cemetery Man. But with that, we're gonna keep chugging along, and we're gonna pull right into Spoiler Town, and we're gonna talk about 2024's horror comedy Destroy All Neighbors.
And now for our feature presentation.
Wowie Kazowie, this was a wacky movie. It's about a struggling prog rock musician, William Brown, who finds himself in a living nightmare when he accidentally kills his neighbor Vlad, and everything just sort of goes to hell from there. Oh my goodness gracious gravy. You guys, Killer Kelly, what did you think about Destroy All Neighbors?
This was fun, and it ramps up really like quickly. It was funny. Oh, the gore. Hold on, let me gather my thoughts on this too, because I also just watched this today.
All right,
But,
Killer. Let's just skip to Mr. Ruthless Chris and let Ruthless
yeah.
Chris talk about it for a little bit.
So I watched this twice now. I had watched it the first week it dropped, so I was pretty excited about it. And then I refreshed today before we recorded because I knew there's some stuff I forgot. This is a prime example of a movie I don't think a whole lot of people like. It's going to have its audience, but I don't think it's going to be a genuine crowd pleaser. But this one feels like it was made for me. Like, if you know anything about me, I listen to a lot of old prog music, and like get hit with a lot of the criticisms this dude does.
Prog squared.
The sense of camp and the sense of humor and the style of special effects I really enjoy, because it has almost that like house kind of vibe, like with how they do the makeup and the makeup effects and stuff. It reminded me a lot of House. I really enjoyed Alex Winter in this thing. Like, when I told her that was Bill from Bill and Ted, she did not believe me, but it is. He also pops back up.
Struggling to believe that.
Yeah. Vlad the neighbor was Bill from Bill and Ted, just a shit ton of prosthetics. I really liked how it didn't mind getting really silly, and it didn't really give a shit about like spoon feeding you why things were able to happen the way they are. They just expect you to fucking accept it. I like that it goes a little bit Airheads in this thing. All in all, man, I really I liked almost everything about this. The only criticism I had is some of the jokes, just because of the way they deliver it, I don't think landed the way they could have. Like, I thought the cops in particular kind of fumbled their gags a little bit. But yeah, I really loved this fucking movie, man.
I really wanted to love it. Like, when I saw the preview and I saw Alex Winter, because Alex Winter, first thing that comes to most people's minds is Bill and Ted's movies. And I loved as a kid, of course. And then, of course, the next movie that comes to mind when you think of Alex Winter is Freaked. And this definitely had the vibe of Freaked, especially in the trailer. And another thing that comes to mind, which a lot of people probably forgot about, was the MTV sketch comedy show Idiot Box. He was a big creative force in that. Now, he doesn't play the main character in this, and I also feel, although he is a big part of it, I feel like if you don't love prog music or know enough about prog music, you're not going to get this movie.
True.
And I do not know enough about prog music to fully appreciate this movie. But it's like if I watched a punk rock horror movie, or if somebody who didn't know about punk rock watched a punk rock horror movie, they'd be like, "Oh, it was good, but it wasn't as great as I expected it to be." And I'd be like, "No, this is the greatest movie ever. It's punk rock and horror." And I feel like anybody that knows about prog rock and can talk about prog rock will enjoy this movie a lot more than I did. But also, with that being said, the gore is great. The gags are great. And as it went along, I did get like, okay, you need all these weird elements to layer up and make this music called prog rock. And I thought that was sort of interesting. It reminded me a lot of that Foo Fighters horror movie that came out a little while ago, Studio 666.
Yeah, I can see that, definitely.
Just being a rock and roll movie and about somebody going through the creative progress to make an album. So that it reminded me a lot of that, just because of those facts. And, but the cast on this, is amazing, because not only did you have Alex Winter that did so many amazing cult films and television shows, but you have Thomas Lennon and John Daly that are, started out their career doing MTV's The State, and have gone on to do so many great comedic things. Reno 911, a million movies and TV shows that I could list off, but so great. And then I'm gonna murder his name, but the Indian actor Kumail Nanjiani, he plays
Kumail Nanjiani.
Yeah, he has a small part as a security
He's
guard.
a security guard at a smelting plant.
He kills that role, and so the cast is amazing, and it's definitely a fun story. But once again, I just don't know enough about prog rock to love it as much as Chris did. But it is fun and wacky, and it's campy. And if you like campy films, you're going to at least enjoy it for a watch. Kelly, we're going to come back around to you.
Yes.
What did you think about Destroy All Neighbors?
I did. It was very fun, very campy. It had a lot of good gore. It was funny, man. It was like funny a lot of the way through. It was a great horror comedy. I definitely agree with you with maybe if you're not into prog rock, this might not hit for you. I do like prog rock, not half as much as Chris does. So I probably don't like it half as much as Chris does either. But although I did find a lot of joy in this movie, like the way the ghost especially, the ghost of the old lady was fucking great. It was just funny. Like it had elements kind of remind me of even like the Beetlejuice ghosts in some ways, when he goes to like the underworld. I enjoyed it a lot.
And to your point, the reason what I said earlier, where I don't think people are going to like it as much as I do, is a lot of this is inside jokes, fully making fun of prog rock and the people that listen to it, and that's what really made me laugh. Like, there's a lot of things that you have to really kind of know about that shit to get what they were like poking at, which is what I appreciate. But like on paper, this movie should have never even been fucking made. Like not a lick of it is anything that somebody with money would be like, that we could make this profitable. It's like, we're going to make it the storyline where we don't explain why a lot of it's going on. Like the ins and outs and like how the neighbors are being able to interact with them and if they're really there or not. Prog rock, which appeals to like 10% of music listeners, like, I did like, Thomas Lennon's, he was like the engineer, his running joke, that's not what rock and roll is. Because like anytime he'd say that, it was like he's like, being late, that's not rock and roll. Doing drugs, that's not rock and roll.
Yeah.
And then at the end, he's like winning awards. Now that's rock and roll.
It had kind of like the same feel as like that Deathgasm movie. I guess I would categorize it in the same. Remember that movie that was all like very black metal and shit? Like I can see those being in like on the same shelf in a fucking movie store or something. That's how old I am.
Fun double feature.
But yeah, it would be a fun double feature.
Yeah.
Same sort of pacing. Just yeah. That one was a hoot though. It was just a fun time. I could see it would be something again that you could watch with like a younger horror viewer. Maybe like teens, at least young teens, preteens.
For me, the hour and 25-minute runtime, though, seemed a lot longer than it actually was, which is never a good sign for me personally. And, it also, for that reason, I kind of akin to Kids versus Aliens, where the trailer made it look amazing, and then the movie itself, for me, fell a little bit underwhelming. But great cast and great movie and a lot of fun gore, and you probably enjoyed a lot more if you enjoyed prog rock. But this is streaming on AMC Plus and Shudder, and I gave it 2.5 stars. I don't know if you guys want to talk anymore, but that's about all I've got for it.
I gave it 3.5 stars.
Like I said, this one felt like it was like tailor-made for me. I knew watching it, I was like, this is not for everybody, but I love every fucking minute of this. So I gave it 4.5. I even had more fun with it the second time around, because the first time around, I was more like jaw on the floor, like, what the fuck? Is this really happening? And the second time around, like knowing where it was going and just kind of being able to like buckle up and just to kind of enjoy the ride made it even more enjoyable for me. And all the stuff with his like prog hero that he watches on his phone that kind of like guides him through the whole story.
Yeah,
Really
yeah,
fucking
I love
made me
that
laugh.
guy, dude. I forgot about him for a second. Yeah, when he's telling him how to chop up the body, you know, and he keeps
Yeah,
going
they
back
do
out
that
to the
gag where he like
store.
leaves and gets the fucking the lie, and then he comes back and he's like, "But
That's
that'll
gonna take 3 weeks.
Fuck. And then he goes out, gets the saw, but then he doesn't like have it plugged in because he doesn't have the adapter, and he's got to go back out. Like, there's just so much dumb shit. That, yeah, it's. I loved it. I love this movie. It's just for my sensibilities. It's not for everybody.
I
So
enjoy it.
you have scores across the board from 2.5 to 3.5 to 4.5. So if you've listened to this podcast and you like prog rock, you like campiness, you like Alex Winter, you like horror comedies, and you've got Shudder or AMC Plus, check it out. It's an hour and 25 minutes. The worst you can do is, I watched Destroy All Neighbors, and the best you can do is, hell yeah, prog rock horror comedy. Give me more. But on that note, that wraps up another episode of Real Vile, and it's been an exciting episode, and can't wait to keep the train of chugging along because we're gonna go back to a weekly schedule and give you more and more Real Vile. You guys got any final words for all the people out there in Real Vile land?
Keep it sleazy.
I was just about to say that. I was gonna say keep it sleazy.
That's my line.
Right, you got keep it sleazy squared from Killer Kelli and Ruthless Chris, and I'm gonna say keep it spooky, keep it scary, and keep it real vile forever. God bless America and send nudes. Ow!